Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Lakshmi Gudage. I am the program manager for the Global Trade and Investment Forum of SLASSCOM. Thank you so much for joining with us today for the introduction of the SLASSCOM Global Referral Program in collaboration with Sri Lanka IT Professionals Association in UAE. To start off with the proceedings today, I would like to invite Shamil Mendis, the president of the Sri Lanka IT Professionals Association in UAE. So Shamil, over to you to officially welcome everyone.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, everyone. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the SLASSCOM Global Referral Program today. And I warmly welcome all of you to this webinar, especially the members of Sri Lankan IT Professional Association in UAE, as well as the other professionals representing different professional associations in UAE. It is the weekend in UAE today, and I really appreciate all of your participation for this very important webinar, despite your busy working schedule. We as a Sri Lankan IT Professional Association are glad to join hand with one of the prestigious association in Sri Lanka called SLASSCOM, Sri Lanka Association for Software Services Companies, which consists over 343 Sri Lankan IT companies as of today, including large IT companies to small IT companies in Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan IT Professional Association in UAE, it is just a very young professional association, which officially formed 3 months before. We actually started in April by having the objective of improving the presence of Sri Lankan IT professionals footprint, especially in the UAE. Also, we are trying to help Sri Lankan IT companies to find the business opportunities in UAE. It's almost 1.5 months ago, one of our executive committee member, Kuminder, he contacted one of his friend called Mr. Shevan Gunatilaka, who was the previous board member of SLASSCOM, and also he's the CEO of Millennium IT, which is one of the largest and leading IT companies in Sri Lanka. And Kuminder has requested from Shevan saying that we as a IT Professional Association in UAE, how can we help Sri Lankan IT industry and also to the IT companies? And then he came up with idea, we have a global referral program and you can join with that one. And this is the one way of helping Sri Lankan IT professionals in UAE. So this is how we came to know about the SLASSCOM Global Referral Program. And finally, they agreed to present their global referral program for the members of SLITPA in UAE, as well as the other professionals in UAE. I think SLASSCOM has already conducted this type of GRP programs in many countries by focusing the Sri Lankans, those who are living in those countries as well. And it's our pleasure to connect the UAE also with SLASSCOM today through their GRP program. We as SLITPA are just a facilitator for this SLASSCOM Global Referral Program, and we would invite all of you to be connected with SLASSCOM and see how you can help Sri Lankan IT companies, also your own motherland. What SLASSCOM will do is SLASSCOM will connect you with the right fit from Sri Lankan IT industry according to your requirement. Whenever you have some requirement, you can directly contact SLASSCOM and they will and tell about your exact requirement of IT, what type of solution that you are looking at, what type of solution you are planning to introduce into your organization which you are working in, or maybe it's your own company. And they are the right the people, those who have a larger database of Sri Lankan IT companies in Sri Lanka, and they will get you the right candidates, the company's details for you to shortlist the supplier for your requirement. We are also currently working with SLASSCOM to come up with the proper working procedure for our members as well as our other professionals to deal with and request everyone to pay attention to the professional ethics. When you are dealing with Sri Lankan IT companies, we request all of you to especially pay into the your professional ethics in order to avoid the other issues and conflicts. And yeah, that's all about from our side. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining today. And now let's try to listen to the SLASSCOM and see what they has to say, and just try to learn about their program and try to get connect with SLASSCOM GRP program and try to benefit Sri Lankan IT companies as well as our own motherland. Thank you, everyone. Now I will hand over the session to the Mudit from SLASSCOM. Over to you, Mudit.
Thanks, Jamil. Once again, welcome everyone, and really appreciate all of you taking time off during your weekend to join this session. Again, thanks to Kuminder for connecting us with Slipta and basically making all of this happen. We believe that this would be a very fruitful partnership in the months and years to come, and we are excited to kick off this partnership between SLASSCOM and Slipta with this particular webinar. So I have a quick presentation to make to kind of introduce you to the Global Referral Program. But before I jump into the presentation, I'd like to take a minute or two and give you a little bit of context about SLASSCOM, because my presentation is completely focused on the Global Referral Program, which is really the matter at hand today. So SLASSCOM, as Chamil already kind of mentioned and set some context around, is the apex IT and BPM industry association in the country, in Sri Lanka. So the membership is more than 250 companies. I believe now it's nearing 300. And this essentially covers almost all, especially the export-oriented IT and BPM companies in the country. So SLASSCOM has various activities, a whole bouquet of activities, if I put it that way, going on at any given time. So we are, on the one hand, trying to grow supply for the industry by working with the universities, by making sure that their curriculums are aligned with what the industry needs, by working with government to ensure that policies are favorable for the industry. And, we are working with external stakeholders to make sure that Sri Lanka is perceived well throughout the world, especially in terms of our IT and BPM branding. So there's multiple strands of activity to SLASSCOM. The Global Referral Program is just one activity conducted by SLASSCOM, but it's a key activity because we see this as the future for how Sri Lankan companies will connect with particularly the Sri Lankan diaspora around the world. So let me share my screen now and start taking you through some slides that I put together to introduce the whole Global Referral Program concept and give you a understanding about what we mean by this referral program. And within the course of my presentation, I will cover the thinking behind the program, how the program works, how you can get involved. And lastly, I will finish by taking you through some case studies of how referrals and expat networks have already helped to drive growth in the Sri Lankan IT and BPM space. So let me start off with the thinking behind the program. So some of you who are attached to the IT and BPM sectors in Sri Lanka would have heard of some of these brands: Cisco Labs, WSO2, London Stock Exchange, which was formerly known as Millennium IT, and so forth. So these are all great examples of success stories, Sri Lankan homegrown success stories of IT and BPM companies going global and doing very well on the global stage. If you look at the key drivers behind their success, there is a few common threads that come to mind. Firstly, these companies were started by people with global experience. So the founding team had global experience. The founding team also typically included some members who were present in their target markets. So the target markets were, the US, the UK, Europe, the Middle East, Australia, Japan, and so forth. And a lot of these companies were started with some founders, based in those markets. So they really had local access to the target market. And in almost the case of all of these companies, they had global investors as well, which brought a further way of accessing global markets and networks. So today, there is a new generation of IT and BPM companies in the wings. So these companies also have the same talent, the same potential, and the same hunger to grow, but they need a helping hand. And the helping hand they need is primarily in terms of increasing visibility for their brands. They need introductions to get in front of potential clients in their target markets, and they need opportunities to prove their capabilities and develop long-term relationships. And all of this is essentially activities that need to be done in their client markets. It doesn't quite make sense to do any of these things in Sri Lanka. So this is where you as the expats, the Sri Lankan expat community all around the world come into play. So what is the Global Referral Program and how does it work? So put simply, the Global Referral Program is a way for you as a Sri Lankan expat to get involved in helping local IT and BPM companies grow and expand their presence in the market that you happen to live in. That's the program in a nutshell. So in terms of how it works, I will go into the mechanics in a bit more detail in the following slides. But to perhaps give you a quick idea of the efficiencies that this program creates, let me try and kind of walk you through a hypothetical example. So let's say one of you based in UAE, perhaps working in the IT sector there, you come across a business opportunity and you feel that there are companies in Sri Lanka that could probably serve this opportunity. So it is likely going to be an opportunity for the Sri Lankan companies as well. And you're keen to send this opportunity to Sri Lanka. And if you want to act on that, then your only recourse, unless you happen to know, unless you directly happen to know a company that fits this perfectly, would be to first go on LinkedIn or search online, find companies that fit this particular business opportunity, then reach out to them, connect with them, get their collateral, evaluate whether they fit the need, talk to the decision makers and try and convince them that this business opportunity that you're pitching is legitimate, that you yourself is a serious referrer bringing a legitimate business inquiry in front of them, and so forth. So this is all a very cumbersome process. So we felt that if we are able to make this process much more seamless and a lot easier to do, both in terms of time and effort, there would be more of you reaching out to Sri Lanka with business inquiries. So that really is what we're trying to drive here via the Global Referral Program. So under the program, we have created this pool of companies that cover what we feel is the in-demand services and products when it comes to the IT and BPM sectors. So we've already created this pool of companies. About 40 plus companies are there. And we have a SLASSCOM central facilitator that can help coordinate communication between you yourselves and those companies. So Lakshmi, who met you right at the start of this presentation, is that coordinator. So if you want to reach out to any of those companies, you can reach them directly. You can get connected to them directly via her. So the companies in the program are bound by a common MOU. This governs how they conduct their commercial practices, and this also protects the interests of a referrer, and it also makes the whole the referral situation easier for you to undertake as someone trying to really help Sri Lanka and help a Sri Lankan company without taking on any kind of liabilities or any kind of risk for yourself. So This is essentially what the program does in a nutshell. Let me move on and give you a bit more information about the companies in the program. So the companies in the program essentially cover these 6 business verticals, if I put it that way. So as you can see, practically anything to do with any business inquiry to do with IT or BPM would very likely fall into one of these categories. So practically any inquiry that you come across that is relevant to IT and BPM companies are likely to be covered by one or multiple of the 40 company pool that we have created. So I know that this concept of making a referral might be a little alien to some of you. So therefore, let me kind of talk you through this in a little bit of detail. I think that would be useful for discussions to follow. So how does the program work in practice? So the way we see it working is that a referrer would come across a business opportunity in the IT and BPM sector, and they feel that this is something that's relevant for a Sri Lankan company, in the sense that the business opportunity, whatever company is procuring that service or product, is open to overseas companies, including companies from Sri Lanka pitching for it. So then you can reach out to SLASSCOM, inform SLASSCOM about this opportunity, and provide some basic details to Lakshmi, so that then she can understand which of the companies in our 40 company pool would be relevant for this particular inquiry. So what she will do as soon as she understands that is that she will send across some profiles of relevant companies to you, because you as the referrer, you're on the ground and you are close to the lead, and therefore you're probably better placed than anyone else to understand which companies are most suitable out of companies that happen to be providing that particular product or service to pitch for that pitch in that particular situation. So the referrer can then select which companies are most likely to be suitable in that situation, and then afterwards Lakshmi will connect you directly with the relevant companies, and she will connect you directly with the decision makers in those companies, the sales and marketing heads, the CEOs, and so forth. So thereafter it's up to you to really figure out how you want to go forward in that situation. It might be that you prefer to just make a quick introduction, plug in a Sri Lankan company with an opportunity, and step back. That is completely understandable, and that's very welcome. We know that for a lot of you, the driving force, the underlying motive would be to help companies back home, and we absolutely welcome that, and we encourage it. And for some of you, you might think that, okay, this particular company, this Sri Lankan company that you're dealing with, is interesting, and you might prefer to get involved in that company in a slightly more hands-on manner, and you might prefer to help them with the pitch. You might get involved in the pitch yourself, and you might even go to the extent of getting involved in the pitch where you have something to gain if the pitch goes well. If the company ends up winning the business, you're likely to be rewarded in some way by the company. So all kinds of arrangements are possible and can be worked out directly with the company. So at that stage, SLASSCOM as a facilitator does not get involved. We let you and the company work out the details of your collaboration by yourselves, because we know that it's going to be very individualized. It's going to be very custom, depending on the situation. So what's the value that SLASSCOM adds? So essentially, SLASSCOM makes the whole process seamless by, for instance, having all the material about the companies in the GRP pool readily available, brochures, newsletters, and their marketing collateral, and so forth, and circulating that material really via these brochures, newsletters, etc. And then SLASSCOM will be arranging continuous opportunities for you to meet and get to know some of these companies. So for instance, if we see that there is demand in your market, there is interest in a particular vertical, like let's say, for example, in companies providing AI and ML solutions, we'd be more than happy to organize some webinars going forward where you'd be able to interact with the companies in those verticals directly and other verticals as well. And then once an introduction is made, SLASSCOM, which would essentially be Lakshmi in this case, will continue to follow up, work with the company and make sure they give you timely responses, and also follow up later and find out the outcome of the introduction for our tracking and analysis, and also to make everyone accountable in the process. So here's a snapshot of where we are. We've selected the pool of companies. They've all signed this MOU and joined the program. So the program has actually been up and running from around November last year. We've, as Chamil mentioned, we have launched the program already in the US, in UK, in Australia, and France. And this is the very first time that we are launching it in the Middle East. So, very excited to do this in collaboration with Slipta. And we have created this resource center where the referrers can easily browse collateral and offerings of each company, get an understanding of what kind of companies are in this pool. And we will keep sending out newsletters, create opportunities for you to get to know these companies better in the future. So if you followed us so far, I think the question in your mind would be, who can be a referrer? So I think the good news is that almost anyone can be a referrer. All you need is really the motivation to help Sri Lankan companies. I think almost all of us, if we really put our thinking hats on, can think of situations, either people in our network, people in the situations that we come across during our day-to-day work, perhaps even within our own companies, where we see business opportunities arise that could potentially be tapped by Sri Lankan companies. If you happen to work in the IT and BPM sector yourself in UAE, then it's very likely that this is the case, and you could very likely be someone that comes across opportunities relevant for Sri Lankan IT and BPM companies on practically a monthly basis. So other than folks working in the IT and BPM sectors, anyone with a good standing in their community and a broad contact network is very likely to be a good person, a good potential referrer. We have people, for instance, non-IT and BPM sector referrers from UK and US, like people who work in industries like travel, for instance, who have referred leads to us. And what they typically do is they happen to know like travel sector companies in UK who are looking for help to develop travel related software, travel related platforms, or looking for help to do digital marketing around their travel offerings, and they funnel some of those inquiries here. So it doesn't always need to be the case that you need to be in the IT and BPM sector. And then in general, anyone interested in building connections with Sri Lankan IT and BPM companies really can, if they take an interest, can definitely be a referrer, because this really is a great way to build relationships with the most exciting set of fast growing companies in Sri Lanka. So if that's something that excites you, then being a referrer is something that you should definitely consider. So then the next question is, how can you help? How can you get involved? If you want to be a referrer, you want to help in some way, how do you go about doing that? So the first thing you can do is you can help spread the word. So via SLASSCOM's sort of central content aggregation mechanism, we will be publishing content, we will be sharing newsletters, we will be forwarding certain content to you. And we would be extremely grateful if you could share this content within your network. This sharing itself might drive some opportunities, because people within your network might see that and reach back to you and ask, can you introduce me to that company that you shared this particular thing about? Because they know that you're from Sri Lanka, and if you're sharing some information about a Sri Lankan company, it's natural that they will infer that you might know them and be in a position to make that introduction. So that's a quick start way to get involved. And then secondly, of course, please do refer any business opportunities that you come across. And then thirdly, we would really like the referrers that we work with to build personal win-win partnerships with the companies in the program. So that really is the end goal of this program. We want the referrers to get to know companies, kind of get a feel for a few companies by introducing leads to them and working through that process with them, and then think that, okay, this could be something for the long term. This could be a win-win partnership for the long term, and really figure out a way to help that company while reaping some rewards for yourself as well. So talking about rewards, what do the referrals stand to gain? So first and foremost, as Chamil mentioned, you would be contributing to increasing the exports of this absolutely vital sector for the Sri Lankan economy. As we all know, IT is a sector that brings in revenue not just to Western Province and not just to people in Colombo, but to a whole set of communities all around the country. So it's IT is known as a sector where workers are paid relatively high salaries. It's a sector that employs a large percentage of women. It's a sector that employs a lot of people who are born and raised outside of Colombo. So it's a sector that can create opportunities for all. And in that sense, I think it's an excellent sector to support if you want to give back to your motherland. Then secondly, we absolutely hope that some of you end up taking an interest in this and referring opportunities, connecting with the companies in our GRP pool and so forth. And if you happen to do that, we would be honored to recognize you as ambassadors for the IT and BPM industries in your particular market. And then thirdly, some of you might choose to work closely with companies, as I said before, maybe even get involved in their pitching, become a long-term partner for them and so forth, and open up business opportunities for them. And that is completely welcome and highly encouraged. And if you do that, it's natural that you would look to benefit as well. And to that end, you are more than welcome to work out arrangements like finder's fees, commissions, and so forth when the companies that you work with win business as a result of your collaboration. So the companies in the GRP program have signed a MOU that whereby they have undertaken to honor commercial arrangements they make with referrals introduced to them via the program. So the program also creates a certain amount of security and a structure for you to work with such companies as well. So if this is if this model of collaboration appeals to you, then this program would really be the ideal way to get started working with a few Sri Lankan companies in this way. So those of you who end up referring worthwhile opportunities will very likely be recognized by these companies themselves as advisors, potential directors, and so forth. And you will very likely get to play a key role in growing a Sri Lankan company. And as I mentioned before, if some of you have hopes of returning back home to Sri Lanka someday and you want to build relationships with Sri Lankan IT and BPM sector entrepreneurs, this is, I can't really think of any better way to go about it than to get involved in this program. So now I think I will jump onto a couple of case studies to give you a sense of how referrals and introductions can drive business for Sri Lankan companies. So I'll actually start very close to home. I'll start with my own company, Calci Technologies, where I head business development and speak from experience here. So Calci is a bespoke software development services provider. We build custom complex software solutions for clients worldwide. And we had traditionally been a very US focused company. So we had a large clientele in US when I came on board. And at the time, the focus was really to see how can we crack the UK market and the European market and so forth. we implemented this channel sales partner approach, which is essentially very much similar to the referral partner approach that we are proposing here. And we managed to get our very first client in UK via such an introduction made by a sales partner in not very far away, not very long ago, around 2017. And very quickly, by around 2019, we had got 10 plus active clients in UK, large accounts, all via referrals made by similar partners. And it's not work. This strategy has not worked for us just in UK. It's worked in other markets as well. For instance, we have a similar partner in Scandinavia, and via introductions made by that one partner, we have landed accounts like, for instance, the largest, one of the largest e-commerce players in the Nordics, a company called Nelly.com. So this all goes to show the power of referral and the power of introduction. So today, I'm very proud to say that 70% of the company's revenues come from clients secured via referral partners who are people who have referred us and introduced us to business opportunities that they came across, or introductions from our existing clients. So this really shows the power of introduction, and I really pick some of these case studies to give you a sense of how powerful a medium of generating new business this can be. So secondly, I'd like to pick an example from a product company. Some of you might already know of this company and be familiar with the brand. BoardPack is a well-known company. They have award-winning solutions for digitizing board meetings, and today they have offices all around the world, and they have entered some of their key markets like South Africa and Malaysia by partnerships. So they have partnered with telcos, they have partnered with individual referrers and corporates who have essentially introduced them to clients and potential clients, and these have resulted in hundreds of clients for BoardPack, all generated by a very small central marketing team. So the marketing team in Sri Lanka is very small, but they manage hundreds of client accounts, and they manage tens and dozens of partners all around the world. So this also goes to show the power of the partner model. A small company with a small marketing and sales unit can really leverage themselves by utilizing this partner model. So BoardPack recently entered the US market via an introduction made by one of the directors who happens to be an expat Sri Lankan living in the US. So via the introduction, they partnered with this company called LifeSize. LifeSize is a direct competitor to Zoom, the software that we are using to do this webinar today, and that opening up the US market is an absolute milestone. So this has put them on track to really scale the company at an exponential rate for the immediate future. So last but not least, I'll end with another case study of a company in a completely different business vertical, Loop Solutions. The CEO of Loops, Shehan, actually happens to be on this call. Shehan is a very active member of SLASSCOM, member of the SLASSCOM's committee, and the head of the Global Trade and Investment Forum. And Shehan's company, Loops, has again leveraged the Sri Lankan expat networks extensively to grow their presence in markets like Australia and Qatar. So they've done a lot of work with old boys associations, past pupils associations, and so forth. And these networks we know are very, very strong in the Sri Lankan context. So Shehan is very much an experienced and old hand at leveraging Sri Lankan contacts to grow business overseas. So I hope this gives you a sense of the power of the overall model. And with that, I will conclude my presentation. Anyone who's interested in becoming a referrer, there is a online form where you can go sign up. And if anyone has any questions, please, we can more than happy to discuss now, or if anyone would like to raise questions privately, you can always email Lakshmi at SLASSCOM, whom you met at the start of the session. Lakshmi, over to you.
Thank you, Mudit. Thank you so much for that comprehensive explanation about the Global Referral Program. Mudit, I think we have got one question in the chat box. Would you like to take the question?
Sure. So I believe we have a question from Renil. I hope I pronounce your name correctly, Renil. So Renil, more than happy to organize a road show. Of course, given the current conditions, I believe we do it virtually right now. But there would definitely be some companies in the GRP program who are perhaps already either present in the market or bullish on the Middle Eastern market, and we would in future definitely love to facilitate opportunities for them to come over and do a physical roadshow as well. So as I mentioned during my presentation, we will be now, take this as an introductory session, and what we will do for follow-up is we will basically start organizing sessions where you will get to meet some of these companies directly. So I believe we got a second question.
Yes. From Rukshan.
Yes. So Rukshan's question is, I believe everyone can see the chat thread. So it's about who can introduce companies involved in the GRP. And he has listed down some specific verticals. So Rukshan, I believe your please do point out if I've interpreted your question wrongly. I believe your question is about where can you find information about the companies in the GRP who fall under these particular categories? If that's the question, okay, great. So that's I've interpreted the question correctly. So there is a web portal, a section on the SLASSCOM website where we have these companies listed. So at this point, I have to say the listing might not be immediately easy to kind of spot which companies fall into which sectors. But going forward, we will try to arrange that information in a much more easily digestible manner so that you can easily spot which of these companies are falling under these categories. But for your reference, we would be happy to take this down and come back to you with a list of the companies that fall into each of these categories. So Lakshmi, let's make a note of that and make sure that we follow up with Rukshan.
Yes.
Anyone else? And please feel free to speak up.
Yeah, Mudit, thank you very much for that detailed explanation. While others think about the questions, I just want to give my experience on working with, not like officially with SLASSCOM, but with getting Sri Lankan companies. A while back, I mean, I was an admirer of WSO2 for what they have done. So I've been following up very closely. And that's how I get to know Shewan, when he was in Dubai, we met and got introduced. And there was an opportunity came through for an AI-driven chat and like a human interface sort of a situation. We were looking for companies around the world. In fact, we could only find about 4 or 5 companies around the world that could give a good solution for that. And I just wrote one WhatsApp message to Shewan and said, Shewan, we are looking for something like that. Can you please introduce me to a company if you know anyone there? And within a day or two, I got introduced to a company. I think it's okay to say the company name, Arimac, which I was pleasantly surprised by the professionalism, the work that they are doing, and the way they have conducted themselves. I was really surprised. And I know that's only one of those companies, because I know many of us had not had so great experiences, but I can see this new generation of companies in Sri Lanka are really understanding the global market, and they really do work in line with what's the expectation of the other the countries, and they conduct very professionally. Just wanted to encourage everybody to see if we can make such opportunities. There was a question about the ethics involved in it. If it is in my company, and if I were to introduce, and people would consider that as a you know not so ethical thing to do. I managed to handle that thing, basically being very open. I searched for these companies. This is what I found out, and I specifically look for Sri Lankan companies because I'm from Sri Lanka, and we generally do the introduction. What we would do is just introduce them for an RFI stage, request for information stage, and then don't get involved in the tender processing or RFP processing, unless we just openly declare I know the company, I bought them introduced, so I'm not going to be part of it. I think everybody appreciates it, and they basically I didn't face anything as such. In fact, I wrote to my procurement team saying this is the case. I introduced this team, therefore I will not get involved into the details, but they still wanted me to get involved in the detail. But that's a it really helps you to stay professional and keep to your ethics and still help a Sri Lankan company. Yeah. Just while others get ready for the questions, I just wanted to give that statement. Yes. Mudit, you're on mute.
Really appreciate you sharing that experience, Gumit. I think you hit the nail on the head. You brought out the two big concerns for anyone who might be now thinking about making some referrals. So firstly, you getting involved and playing a role like this, how will it be perceived by the people that you're actually trying to help out, which is either your friend's company or your own company. And like you said, it's definitely possible to handle it very professionally and say that I'm simply making an introduction. And I think the fact that you can point out that this introduction was made via this kind of central program run by the IT or BPM sector body in Sri Lanka actually will validate. It'll add further credibility to that story. Because if you were to make an introduction of a random company that you had found personally through some personal network in Sri Lanka, then everyone would infer that you have some connection with that company in some way. But in this case, you can very easily show that this came through a very open industry-driven program, and not something done through any kind of personal connection. So I think in that sense, the global referral program would definitely be of help there. But I would encourage everyone, as Kuminda said, to consider the situation and really think about your professional ethics, your reputation, and so forth, and handle those situations with some thought. But given these are delicate situations, but these are definitely not situations that should discourage you from sizing an opportunity, because in any case your company would want the RFI or the RFP stage to have as wide participation as possible. It actually is a benefit to have as many options in front of them as possible.
Mudit, there's one more question that has come.
Yeah. So Lionel, I think you've raised a pretty direct question. How would you deal with IT consultancy service intros? So actually, Lionel, if you look at the business verticals that I outlined during the course of my presentation, the majority of the companies in the program actually are service companies. So they are, you can think of them as consultancy companies, meaning that if you are providing software development services, that's one type of consultancy. If you are providing digital marketing services, that's another type of consultancy, and so forth. So the majority of the companies in the program are consultancy companies. So when you're making an introduction, to a such a company. I think what you need to do is if you come across a potential project or a potential long-term client, someone looking for a long-term partner, for such such type of consultancy need, you can reach out and we'd be happy to connect you with the relevant companies in the program. And once you connect with the company, you would be able to assess with your ground level view of the business opportunity that you're referring, you'd be able to assess which companies are really best suited for the opportunity that you have in hand. Because consultancy tends to be a very diverse sector, even within even if I take like software development as one vertical, not every company in software development would do would really specialize in the same things, would have the same focus, would have the same way of working and so forth. So you can really pick and choose and figure out which companies best suit you. The good news is that we have a lot of consultancy companies in the program. Did I answer your question, Lionel? Or if there's more that you want to know, please feel free to drop a follow-up message.
Yeah, thank you, Lionel. Do we have any more questions? Yeah, so we have a question from Lafir.
So Lafir, my apologies if I again don't interpret your question correctly. I believe your question is about is the fintech industry driving some change in the Sri Lankan landscape. It definitely is. So fintech is a new sector to Sri Lanka. There aren't too many fintechs. Of course, Millennium IT could be considered definitely a fintech, possibly a most successful fintech. But other than that, there aren't too many fintechs in the local scene. There's a lot of companies right now focused locally on the Sri Lankan market, providing payment solutions, providing payment gateways and new payment apps and so forth. But not too many focused on the overseas markets. There are a few who are working with overseas banks and so forth. We are trying to attract them into the GRP program. So I believe Channa has already thrown out a ready opportunity. So Channa, thank you very much for letting us know. And what we will do is Lakshmi will take it down, and we will come back to you with some companies that can help you with this particular project. So Lafir, I believe you come up with a follow-up question, how much scope there would be in the coming years for fintech. So I'm unfortunately not really the best person to answer, because I don't operate in fintech at all, particularly in the Sri Lankan local fintech scene. But I think if you talk to anyone in the know, like what they say is that there is a lot of scope, because it's a green field, not much done in Sri Lanka at all. So there's a lot of opportunities for things. Particularly, there's a lot of interest in right now doing solutions around expat remittances. All of you being expats would be very familiar with this problem. Remittances from Middle East and so forth. Any other questions? Any other comments, questions? And feel free to speak up as well. You can unmute yourself and speak up if you'd like to.
Yeah, thanks, Mudit. You answered my question.
Great. Great,
I think at the beginning there was another question, how we could get to know about a roadshow, conducting a roadshow. So when you're discussing at the very beginning, one of the points that we discussed is maybe SLITPA can support to get any, maybe industry focused or maybe specific IT companies doing half an hour session like this on a Thursday, maybe for specific professional groups in the UAE. These not going to be large gatherings like the 30, 40 people, but maybe 10, 15 people at least. So they get together and, go through what those companies have to offer and what their services is. And that probably could open up opportunities on those specific areas or sectors or people who are interested. Something that we discussed before, maybe Chamil, and we have other members from SLITP also, we probably can have that discussion and see how we can support that way.
So excellent suggestion, Kumit. So that was actually the follow-up that we were looking to propose, that we now follow up with, now that we have introduced the program in general, that we now follow up with sort of specific vertical specific sessions where companies in that particular vertical can kind of introduce themselves, get a couple of minutes per company to showcase their capabilities. Because then I'm sure everyone on this call would have interest in specific verticals. Some of you might be working in a specific vertical. Some of you might, have more contacts in a specific vertical, so forth. So then we'd be, able to, we'd really love your help to attract the right audience and roll this out into a series of sessions. If every Thursday is the best time, more than happy to accommodate that.
Yes, so we got another question from Dave.
Yeah, so I think Dave, your question is around the legal framework for IP protection, confidentiality, NDA, and IP. So, Dev, the program, as the global referral program itself, does not get involved in the pitching process. The companies, the pitching process or the contracting process between the companies and the whatever business opportunity, the company on your end, the local company and the company on your end that they end up working with, if business materializes. So because of that, IP protection and things like that don't really come into play here. We would definitely expect the companies and the clients to work that out in their contracts. So that would be, we'd expect that's a industry standard thing, that IP protections would be covered within those within the contractual agreements there. In terms of confidentiality and NDAs of information shared with you guys as the referrers, and information that you get to know about the companies in the program. So whatever collateral that Lakshmi can readily share with you about the companies in the program is those companies' public collateral. So that's the collateral the companies really want to lead their marketing efforts with. So that doesn't, given that expectation to the companies, so that doesn't include anything the companies themselves consider confidential. There would be, in the course of your dealings with them as referrers, you might get to know certain information about them that is confidential. For example, you might send across a business opportunity, and the companies might end up sharing their pricing, and that might be confidential info. So that's the reason why when we have this sort of very easy and seamless process for signing up as referrers, when you do that, you yourself also promise to abide by certain commercial practices. So you, for instance, you should not share that pricing that the companies share with the lead, and that you will probably have visibility to anywhere else. So that type of correct commercial conduct is expected from both the referrer and the company.
Do we have any more questions?
I think
Mudit, actually, I really appreciate. I just want to highlight one factor here because, like, the work that you guys are doing really amazing, and try to bring the business opportunities towards the Sri Lankan IT industry. I really appreciate. And having said that, SLITPA also having the same objective when we established 3 months back, and we also had the two main objectives. One is to increase the IT professionals' footprint in UAE, and also try to support the UAE business, Sri Lankan IT companies to come and do business or get the business opportunities. It could be a offshore opportunity, it could be a business opportunity, or whatever the way, as long as we can drive the business opportunities to back to our motherland. So there are, I mean, with this, I mean, last month we had another session with EDB where the Sri Lankan IT companies, some of the Sri Lankan IT companies also joined with that. And what we are doing is with them also, we try to, I mean, we have a separate subcommittee established called Business Development Subcommittee, and where there is some, the subcommittee members are evaluating the industry and try to understand the business potential in UAE. Because we cannot blindly, we don't want blindly the Sri Lankan IT company to come and start business here. So we try to find the blue ocean here and try to match the correct potential business opportunity with the Sri Lankan IT companies. So I'm glad that we found you as the right fit, and we can work closely with you, because we know that I mean, Sri Lanka, you have the I mean, all the combination of all the IT solution providers and software companies, so to get in the market. And also regarding the workshop thing, with the EDB also, we got to some of the companies, and our business development committee has shortlisted some of the companies, thinking that these are the potential services and products where we can showcase into our members. Then they can get an idea and they can start, I mean, introducing those products and services into their company, and it's kind of a referral way of. And also the same way we can approach with the SLASSCOM also. And currently the business development company and the Siraj is already doing that exercise. Once we finalize with the set of areas, we think like those verticals where we think like we can definitely pitch, and I mean, there are potential opportunities. We will get back to you, and then maybe perhaps we can arrange some roadshow for the selected audience. So those are the things which we are trying to do as a SLITPA. Ultimately, our objective is to drive the business opportunities into Sri Lanka. Like when you mention it's about the referral, the benefits, but it's up to the individual. I mean, whether you take it or not, I personally believe as long as you can drive the business opportunity and pitch it into the right way, and you are done with that one. So that should be our ultimately objective.
Yes, thank you very much, Shamil, and we really appreciate your enthusiasm and your energy to help us, because whatever we can do from here is limited. So we really need you guys, because you all are the people on the ground there, and without that, whatever activity that we do here, we would not really be of much use. So we really appreciate the help and support you've given, and we will definitely look to organize this. The follow-up activities, identify the set of companies that would be interesting to put in front of your members, organize separate virtual road shows for them, and so forth, and continue this collaboration in the months to come. So Lakshmi, I believe we've come to the end of the formal proceedings. We have Shehan around who will do a quick word of thanks. We really want to thank everyone who has pitched in to make this, put this together.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone, for this session. I mean, it's very nice to see good participation from members. And like what Mudit mentioned, I mean, it's good to hear questions. To be honest, you should have a lot more questions. I actually urge you all is, if you all can actually register on that link and register your interest, it will be good for us to know who you are, because what we will do soon after this is anyone who registers we add you to a WhatsApp group, and soon if you have any offers, just send it to us. We can connect you with companies, ideas, because what we learned is sometimes you have you can talk to some companies and you can learn some of the things, and you may have ideas how it can be used. So that's something we can definitely help you. And like I said, as SLASSCOM, our role is to help both companies in SLASSCOM and also you all to kind of connect together also. So do click on that link and actually register. That will be very helpful, and we can take it from there. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining, and thanks
So thanks.
the whole team at SLIPTA for helping to put the event together. So we wish you a good evening, and please enjoy your weekend.
Mudit, I think they're asking for the link actually. Did you post the link?
Lakshmi, can we post the link on the chat thread?
Yeah.
In any case, we have the emails of everyone that signed up, right? Like
Yes.
we can follow up with the deck that I shared and the links.
Yeah.
I can actually email the link to everyone.
Yeah.
Great.
So you will all receive it in your inbox shortly.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.